So, in this video, I want to talk about blending trimix. And the reason I'm doing in this video is in response to this clip.
You're saying some people blend gas, nitrox,
and then they'll pick it up and they'll rock it, or they'll roll it on the ground, they'll put it on the ground like they're playing soccer or something like that, because they actually believed it back in the day. Because like we'd fill up the tanks and we would roll them through our yards all the way there. They turn around, they come all the way back. So partial pressure blending.
Yes.
How do you mix it? Do you put it on the ground? Do you roll it? Do you rock it like a baby? Can you get a stick in there and start?
You gotta turn the butter.
A very small stick.
What is happening right now?
So yeah, I saw this clip on Instagram, and I just hate this toxic sort of masculinity where a diver will be making fun of other divers. You know, you can see them saying, "Oh, these idiots are just rolling their tanks around, thought they needed to do that while blending," and you know, just guys making fun of other divers that don't know as much. But the problem with that is it makes people really not want to get into the sport of diving, not want to learn, not ask questions, things like that. And the other problem I have with it is, well, in this case, they're not even right. If you're going to make fun of other divers for not knowing something, you should probably know it yourself. So their whole clip was about, you know, making fun of somebody because they used to, back in the day, roll the tanks and swing them, shake them, whatever. I'm going to show you in this video why they do that still to this day. All the tech divers I know, including me, and in all our courses and everything, and I'll show you why. Alright, so before I made this video, I reached out to a lot of my tech diver friends, instructors. I know a lot of instructor trainers for SDI, TDI, GUE, things like that, just to make sure that it wasn't just me and that I was getting some wrong information. And they all said yes. They all had little stories about why they still do it. And, you know, the moral of the story is I talked to some of the top dive tech instructors on the planet, and they all agreed with me. So I just wanted to throw that out there so you can consider your sources on this one. All right. So now, why do we actually do that? Well, let's talk about blending in the first place, and more specifically, let's talk about partial pressure blending, which is one of the most common methods for blending tanks, for blending nitrox and trimix, because, well, it's easy and it's cheap, for one. I guess that's the main reason. It don't really matter why, but that's what we do. And so how it works, let's say you want to do trimix 1845. All right, a mixture 1845, that's what your label's going to say. And what that really means is 18% oxygen, 45% helium, and then you top it off with air. So, you know, O2 HE. So what we do, we always start with oxygen, and we fill our tank up to, we do all the calculations, by the way. I'm obviously not filling it up 18%. I do the calculations to find out how many bar an empty 207 bar tank would need for 18%. Anyways, I put my oxygen in there first, my 18%. Now, next, obviously, 45% will be helium. And then with the booster or whatever, I could top it off with air, with the nitrogen and all that. So now imagine you have a big barrel of water and you throw a gallon of motor oil in there. You can imagine it's not going to mix real well. And that's what we're doing here. That's why we roll it around, because let's get into it a little bit more specifically. If you got oxygen molecule, all right, it looks like this. This would be the nucleus. An oxygen molecule has 8 electrons surrounding its nucleus. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It looks something like that. I mean, that is not a good it's not arranged like that or anything, but it's a heavy molecule. It actually has a weight. It is hard. I know it is hard to imagine that this invisible gas has a weight that you can measure. Now we get to nitrogen. Nitrogen has its nucleus, and it only has 7 electrons. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right. So because of that, nitrogen is slightly lighter than oxygen. All right, so it's on top. But guess what? Then you got helium. Helium only has 2 electrons, and it is a very, very, very light gas. It's a very light element. So as you can imagine, all of these have very, very different weights, and then you can a little bit better imagine pouring that oil on top of the water. It's just got different densities, and it's not going to mix right away. So now we're trying to mix all these 3 gases in one tank, and if you know anything about blending, maybe you've taken your TDI blender or advanced blender courses, you'll remember that when we decant from our oxygen banks, our 100% oxygen, into an empty tank, or even not empty, to fill our tank, you have to do it extremely, extremely slow. I don't remember how slow it was. I remember doing my blender course. We had to do 5 tanks, and we're just sitting there like, God, it takes forever. It's a very, very boring job. You can imagine a group dive where you're doing a trimix dive with 20 or 50 tanks. Very, very boring, because you have to mix this, even if it's only 20 bar or whatever. It has to be extremely, extremely slow. There's major fire hazards, all that. And on top of that, you guys might remember the temperature to pressure relationships. If not, we have a separate video for that. If I were to mix this real fast, I can go down and feel the bottle. The bottle will be the tank will be very hot. And it's not a good representation of how much is actually in there. So let's say I mix this up. It's real hot. I put it to the sides. It's at 207 bar. It's where it's supposed to be. And then I grab the next one, start on that. And then I go back later to the one I just did. That was real hot. And now it's cooled down. It's no longer at 207 bar. It's at 180 bar. So that's another reason we have to go really, really slow decanting into, into a tank. Because if we did it really, really fast, maybe it would mix better. You know what I mean? Maybe it would just blend really well all together and wouldn't be a problem. Okay, so now you understand why these are different densities and they don't mix automatically. It's because they're different sizes, and we have to go really, really slow when we're filling. So you can even test this. You can do your own experiment. Fill your tank, get it all up. You do your calculations. You figure out how to get the 1845 trimix. You filled it up perfectly. You did it extremely well. You put your you don't shake it up. You don't roll it around or swing it back and forth. You just put your O2 analyzer or your analyzer on there and check the O2 and helium levels, and it's far off. You're like, what happened? I've done this a million times. The calculations are perfect. It's not right. All right. And then you can go swing it around. We have double tanks. It's like going to the gym, or rolling it around, doing whatever, and then put your analyzer back on there, and it is perfect. It's what it was supposed to be the first time. It's how it is. So it's actually important. You don't want to be breathing the wrong gases, especially with your dive planner that is based on one thing and you're breathing another. So it's important to do. All right. So one last story. When I was calling all these tech instructors around the world, my instructor Gabe, he told me he did this once when he was a brand new tech diver. it was his job to go fill a whole bunch of trimix. I think they were in Malta or something. And it just, I mean, it took all night. He's just sitting there like, do. And he put them to the side. He put his analyzer on there, and they were completely wrong. They were all wrong. They were not what he calculated, but they weren't far off. So what he did, he just called his buddy. He threw them all in the truck, and in the morning he told his buddies, hey, we got to change the plan. It's a slightly different mix. I don't know what happened, but I'm not going to sit there all night and blend again. There's just no time. But he put it in the back of the truck, drove down this bumpy road in Malta or wherever he was to the dive site. And then when he was telling the story, he's like, I'm sorry, I messed up the blend. They said, well, let's check. And they put their analyzers on there, and it was perfect. After that bumpy 5 or 10 minute drive down to the dive site and the tanks getting all shaken up, those exact same tanks were a whole different mix, a whole different, result on the analyzer. So it works. It's a proven, tried and true method. You can go call your local tech instructor or show them this video. I think the whole point of this video is twofold. It's one, I just hate this culture that some guys feel like this is their thing. This is a clique, and they're not really welcoming to new divers and people that are working on their journey, their education and tech, the many branches of scuba diving. And I hate that. And two, the second reason is just consider your sources. This is a little bit of a crash course in how trimix blending works, and we're gonna do in the future. We're doing videos on the actual TDI blending course, and then another video on the advanced blender. So I hope if this interests you, you get into it, and yeah, just consider your sources. Never stop learning. And as usual, if you guys want to come down and train with me, train at our SDI TDI training facility here in the Philippines, I'd love to have you. Our contacts, our email is down below. And yeah, if you've watched the very end of this video, you're a nerd, you're a student of the game like me, go put like a calculator emoji in the comments below to let me know you watched the whole video. All right, I'll see you soon.